seen one estimate that says it would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million people a year.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that what American taxpayers should expect?
What price do you put on national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
Don't get me wrong.
So ladies and gentlemen, wild accusations are flying out here actually from The View, and that is because Tom Homan has been chosen as the new border czar.
You realize, I mean, it's chilling what he just said. You realize that when he says, yes, families can be deported together, what he is saying is that U.S. citizens can be deported.
If you're already a U.S. citizen, you cannot be deported. So that means the person that is being deported is not a U.S. citizen yet.
What he is saying is if the parent is undocumented and they have U.S. citizen children or U.S. citizen spouse, or and you don't want to separate them, then let's deport the U.S. citizens. Look, Donald Trump won the electoral vote. He won. He's going to win the House. He won the Senate. For all effects and purposes, he's got the Supreme Court. They've given him immunity. This is what the country voted for. This is, you know, a lot of people thought that when he talked about mass deportations, he wasn't being serious. I don't know how many times he had to say it for people to realize he was being serious.
Everybody knows he was serious, and that's why they voted for him, and that's why he is the popular vote and you lost in the landslide.
Ow!
Second of all, Trump isn't immune. They just defined immunity for Trump, Joe Biden, or whoever comes in the future. They just define how far the immunity goes. Why? Because you came with all these weird felonies that you would never felony a person for. But you only felonied him because he was about to become a president. But the point is the immunity has boundaries. And third of all, the fear mongering as well. I'm like, if I came to a country illegally and I had a baby, or I came illegally and I brought a kid, if you deport me, do you really think I would consider it normal that you deport me without my kid? No, there's no way. Because the way I understand is that I can commit a crime, my kid can't stay in that country, and because of that reason you can never deport me.
I'm invincible!
So, I'm immune? It's like you're the Supreme Court and you just gave me immunity.
Talk about mass deportations, people think, oh, it's just going to be the criminals. There's not enough criminals, aliens in the federal prison system for it to be mass deportations. What it means is grandmothers. What it means is brothers and aunts. What it means is abuelos y abuelas. It means dreamers. It means your family members. It means your colleagues. It means your friends. It means people who are part of the society. And look, America, you know, those of you who voted for Trump, this is what you wanted. This is what you voted for. You screwed around and you're about to find out.
I find it rather interesting when you say mass deportation. We don't have enough people, so you're already trying to fearmonger people that mass deportation includes criminals and people on the outside. But when we talk about mass shooting, we don't talk about that number. Why do you try to use fear to get the reaction that you want from your own people? But if you actually look into this, it's more like all the bad people that do they are criminals, bada beam, they have a record when they came in. Yeah, maybe those people through the general system, they would never come through the system. If you couldn't enter legally, why would we allow it illegally, even if we give you the option? And the next one, maybe all the people that they couldn't even identify. Who is that? I don't know. Which country? I don't know. Well, if I don't know where you come from, you go back. I mean, the whole ID, they found so many terrorists under Biden compared to Trump. That's wild.
Most importantly, 4 years under President Trump, we had 13 people we arrested on terrorist watch list. Joe Biden, 381. And let's remember, we got over 2 million known gotaways. How many of them came from a country that sponsored terrorism? God help us. Biden is the first president in American history to come into office and unsecure a border. Who the hell does that?
If you tell me I shouldn't worry, I don't know what you want me to say. That's like telling me I'm not half blind. And last but not least, I think the whole system, they're going to create like an HR system so everybody can defend themselves, at least bring up their case. We have so many kids that are lost that nobody has any idea where they are. At least let us make sure that you're contributing in a way, and if you're not, we can help you and not just randomly send you back if you don't have any parents, if you can prove they're dead, for example. But hey, give us an option. No.
The first actions that Kamala Harris took with Joe Biden was to get rid of DNA testing. So here's how it works. They show up on the border, trembling 13-year-old girl who obviously, was just a couple times. You could tell her head is down. I've seen it myself. You can go to Human to see it. Is looking down, and a muscular 35-year-old pimp says, "I'm her dad." And there is no DNA testing that occurs. So instead, they just say, sign on the paperwork. Here's your asylum date. It's in 3 years. Of course, it never comes. And the girl is now a sex slave in the United States. Under Trump, we do a DNA test, be like, you're lying, that's not correct, we're going to find out who her parents actually are, because we're not going to co-sign to her becoming the worst thing that we could possibly tolerate. However, the church is uninterested in this. Exactly. Pastors are too interested in bigger buildings and more budgets and not in the fact that kids, God's children, are being sold as sex slaves in our own country.
And some might say the right are using this as a weapon. Well, the other side is also using it as a weapon, but with different consequences.
So guys, we're going to go to the border to do the book club.
We have a team here to bring a light as to what's happening.
Tens of thousands of people are expected to protest in all 50 states in coordinated protests. They formed a human chain in the middle of the road. They spread out a pile of baby onesies. Oh, hold on. Just... I think I'm going to have to hand this off. Yeah.
I cannot unfeel what I experienced. I refuse to. Mr. Speaker, we do have a crisis at our border. It is one of morality.
No child ever has to suffer.
We need to save these kids. Look at her. She really cares.
We're being called these names under an American flag.
Got up on this ladder and immediately started crying. This is a very overwhelming thing to see.
So I walked down the road, I climbed a ladder, and I looked over the fence.
Let's cut to the chase. This is about racism. This is pure and simple racism. That's all this is. He's hoping that the people who support him will be ginned up and running to the polls to make sure that brown people don't come into America. Those people who are supporting what he's doing here are racist. Period.
Who cares about the Trump voters? If you still support this president after his racism, after putting kids in cages, after everything he's done, you're not going to change. True. You're foregone. I don't care about you.
What I know is a lot of illegal migrants have gotten benefit, health care, and even a loan. So if you're not contributing, why would we keep doing that when we have too many and we can actually sort it out? We need to start somewhere.
For the next 2.5 months. And this is what I'm going to tell Joe. Joe, since they're talking smack about you anyways, you know what, baby, pardon Hunter.
Yeah.
Pardon Hunter, because America just pardoned a criminal.
Yes.
Who was convicted.
Yes.
Of felonies.
Yes.
America just elected a man who pardoned Jared Kushner's father.
Yeah.
Who set up his brother-in-law with a hooker and then sent the pictures to the sister because they were in the midst of a fight over the parents' money.
Yeah, I can't follow that.
Well, whatever the flow chart is, it's nasty.
Exactly.
He's probably going to pardon some of the folks from January 6th, those insurrectionists. So you know what? It's your son. He probably wouldn't have been prosecuted if his last name wasn't Biden. Baby, you got 2.5 months. I'm good with you pardoning Hunter.
This comes from the lady that said Trump was going to lose by a landslide. A lady that is a Latino, but the majority vote was held by a bunch of Latinos that said, you know what, we kind of agree that we need to handle the immigration. So the fact that you're Latina and you don't know the Latina are talking like that because a lot of Latina ladies voted like that on the Texas border.
They not like us.
Isn't that wild that you would say that? But still you focus on emotional wins. What? You did that? Well, we're going to do that, dude. No wonder CNN or whatever panel was saying like, hey, let's make Kamala Harris president. I'm like, what?
Biden's been a phenomenal president. He's lived up to so many of the promises he's made. There's one promise left that he could fulfill, being a transitional figure. He could resign the presidency in the next 30 days, make Kamala Harris the president of the United States.
Whoa.
He would absolve her.
Wow.
What do you mean? Yeah, just give up, Joe Biden. Just give it up. So we can say we had the first black woman president.
Hypocrisy, my friend.
From a common sense perspective, prove to me that Trump is wrong. But let's now talk about the average citizen, the average common sense, why most people choose this man to be the popular vote.
So, Mike, good morning to you. You talked about mass migration, so I do want to talk about the president's mass deportation plan. I care about the human toll. I understand not everybody does. I think there are a lot of folks who are worried about what this is going to mean for our economy. How are you going to explain to American workers, how do you take the additional cost? Is that then that profits are cut into by industry, or do you pass that additional cost onto the consumer?
Well, many of these industries are very profitable, and so if there's a cut into some profits in favor of American workers being able to have a wage that supports a family, I'd support that. Look, over the last 4 years, we've had nearly 10 million people flood this country. The idea that that's just a status quo that has to be lived with, and President Trump is not correct to be able to say, look, we shouldn't have let these people come in. It's too many people for our country to be able to absorb too quickly. We have the highest level of foreign-born people in the United States in the history of the country, but asking them to leave isn't allowed is kind of silly. It's not just a one-way ratchet where when Democrats are in control, people get to flood our country, and then when Republicans are in control, we just sit on our hands. Many of these people came in through a program called temporary protected status. I don't think it's cruel or in any way inhumane to enforce the temporary part of temporary protected.
I'm a house nigger.
Yeah, why is that bad? You came temporary. If it's safe to go back, you go back. If you came to study, you study and you go back and prepare to come legally over time. Why not? I don't understand why that's so bad. I mean, in Spain, you can come illegally. They don't go after you to kick you back. But if you commit a gangster crime, you're done. I mean, exceptions are made. But you just have open borders is wild. Because the moment you have open border, it's going to cost somebody. And the cost affects the people that don't want to pay for it, especially when it's uncontrolled. It's like, well, just deal with it. You're in a better situation. They're in a bad situation. I'm like,
Carlo, come on. You know better. You know so much better than what you are spouting right now. Our community is going to go through pain. Our community is going to go through cruelty. That is not what anyone voted for. And in fact, I will tell the American electorate, if the administration, if the incoming Trump administration goes through this, here's the people that they're going to go after. They're going to go after your kids' classmates. They're going to go after your delivery guy. They're going to go after the people who take care of your kids. They're going to go after the people who work in restaurants. They're going to go after the business owners in your community. They're going to go after the people who work and who own the farmers markets that you love going to on weekends. This is going to be a snapshot of incredible pain and cruelty. And this is, again, they tried to do a semblance of this in 2017, and we saw the backlash. So, I'm saying if this is what you all think you have the mandate for, go for it. You're going to see very quick and very horrifically the kind of backlash you're going to get. I don't think people voted for a cost of almost $100 billion that you all are going to spend if, in fact, you are going to deport the 12 to 15 million. Some people in your party think it's 20 million undocumented immigrants that are here. Go after the criminals, absolutely. And in fact, that's what every administration has done.
Isn't it that what they want to do? If you want to say that you want to go after the criminals, why the heck do you have sanctuary cities?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
For the people that commit the crime, right? Not just the illegals, for the people that commit the gangster crimes, right? Because how they need to adapt to the community. I don't know. It's like you agree with me, but how I want to solve it, you're like, no, solve it in the way that I want to, even if it causes certain effects, but we're not going to talk about that. But I'm going to fearmonger you that whenever you try to stop it, they're going to arrest your grandma.
Don't get me wrong, ma cosa kita bong. Put the fire na mi blonde kush hash purple skunk criollo colombici jam jam. Dur loqueta verdetta welcome.